Again, a very good Sunday morning, and thanks for joining us. As I said earlier, we have a great show in store for you today. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. On the show first, we're going to be talking to the folks from the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation about a great event that they have coming up just around the corner. It's very important that you take part in this event because they really need your help. Talk a little bit more about the event on the show today. We have Ana Escobar. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so before we start talking about this great event that you have every year, it's a 5K run and walk, very important for folks here in the Valley. Let's first of all talk a little bit about the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, what it is and what you guys do. More importantly, what exactly is cystic fibrosis?
Oh, cystic fibrosis is like the most common genetic disease that very few people know about. It is a disease that affects, you're born with it. If your two parents carry the mutated gene, then there's a 1 in 4 chance that the child will be born with it. It mostly affects the lungs and the pancreas, which really makes the two most important functions of the individual very difficult, breathing and eating or digesting food. And there's a thick mucus that attacks both the lungs and the intestines and makes very difficult for the person to clear out that mucus, and therefore they are subject to frequent infections.
Right.
And so that's the foundation exists to find a cure, obviously, for this disease. As of now, there is no cure for it, but the foundation does fund some very specialized clinics that they accredit that treat people with cystic fibrosis. And the closest one to us here is in San Antonio, which is the Lone Star chapter that we belong to, the foundation. So all of our people here in the Valley either travel to Houston or to San Antonio to receive that specialized treatment, which is funded by these types of events that are held by the foundation all over the country.
Absolutely. Now, you say this is something that you're born with, and I'm sure, going, through the weeks, the months, even the years after you're born with it, you go to the hospital quite frequently to have probably operations done, but eventually, I mean, can you live a long life if you have cystic fibrosis, or, I mean, how does...
60 years ago, the average life expectancy of someone with cystic fibrosis was age 5.
Wow.
So it was basically a death sentence, being born with it. Today, thanks to a lot of the therapies developed through the funding received by the foundation, the average lifespan of someone with CF is age 40.
Right, wow.
So we've made a lot of strides, and just in the last, I've only been involved with this foundation the last 6 years. There's been 2 new drugs that have been developed that are actually targeting the underlying cause, which is that mutated gene.
Right.
So just 2 years ago, that was around, but now those 2 new drugs are out there and it's helping people to extend their life. Before that, there's a lot of therapies. It's basically you're trying to take care of the symptoms or make it easier for someone living with a disease to live, and that requires extensive daily treatments, daily medications, and unfortunately this disease is one that there's no government funding, there's no research going on that's being, it's called an orphan disease, which means that there's no federal funding for a cure. So everything has to come through organizations like the foundation, private,
and just out of pocket itself.
Out of pocket.
Now, going back to, having the gene, a couple has the gene, they have a baby together. You said there's a 1 in 4 chance that that child may have cystic fibrosis. You said there's no cure for it, but, sometimes it comes down to the decision where a couple has to make a decision once they found out that their baby is going to have cystic fibrosis, what to do next. That's a tough decision because, as you say, the child is going to have complications when they're born and throughout their life.
Exactly.
You've come across that before as well.
Right, and that's where the foundation is so important, because when we first found out that my granddaughter was born with the disease, the first place that we went for help was the foundation. They were able to give us a lot of information about the disease, and more than anything, they gave us a lot of hope, because we were able to see that there was treatments available that it was not necessarily the death sentence that we thought it was going to be.
Right.
And so right now I have 2 grandchildren that have the disease. One is 7, the other one's about to turn 4. And if you were to see them, you would not know
Right.
that these children have anything wrong with them.
That's great.
But you would not also know that every day they wake up very early in the morning to do treatments and that they have to take medications all of the time. And it takes a big strain on a family. It requires a lot of dedication
Yeah.
from a family to be able to treat a child. And they're special, but you want them to be as normal as possible.
Absolutely, and this is why, you know, this event that you have coming up is so
Exactly.
important. Let's talk a little bit about when the event is itself, where it is, and how much ticket prices are as well.
Okay, well, the event is going to be held on Saturday, October 22nd, and it's going to be in La Feria at the Veterans Memorial Sports Complex, and that's at 904 Pancho Maples Drive.
Perfect.
It's check-in. You can just show up. You don't need to pre-register or do anything. You can just walk up, and we're going to start registering people at 7, and the event should take off around 8 o'clock. It's going to be a 5K run walk. You don't not have to run or
Yeah. You can do both. You can start by running and then walk, and then run and then walk again.
So we ask people to please donate $15 at the time that they come to participate. Children under 12 can participate for free. But obviously, you know, it's a fundraiser. We're here to try to raise funds for this very important cause. Our goal, of course, is to find a cure for this disease and to keep funding the new therapies, new drugs that will treat it. And just as another side note, one of the drugs that the foundation did fund with their research is the Z-Pak and ibuprofen, 2 drugs that they helped develop that everybody uses. So there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of the research that they've funded help other people.
Yeah.
So it's not just people with cystic fibrosis.
Absolutely. Now, where can people get a little bit more information, not just about the event, but also about cystic fibrosis and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation?
They can go to our website, cff.org, and you'll find a lot of information, resources there for people that have any questions about what the disease is, how to find out more information on how you can help, or even just information that might be helpful, because people can be carriers of the disease and not know it.
Right. Well, Anna, I want to thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
show
you.
on this Sunday morning again, folks. Very important for you to get involved there. Get involved with the 5K run walk with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. It's going to be coming up here right around the corner. If you have any questions, call this number. It's 893-3488, or log on right now to cff.org. There you can find out a little bit more information if you have any questions about cystic fibrosis or about the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and of course, the Great Strides 5K run walk event that's coming up in La Feria right around the corner. Anna, again, thank you so much. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Alan.
it. And folks, don't go anywhere on this Sunday morning, because when we come back, we're talking about the 3rd annual La Feria Job Fair. Don't go anywhere.